Every time I enter an event, similar to this one, I actually know a secret. I know that there is a secret society in the works. And today, I'd like you to invite to a little glimpse of what this secret society looks like. But before I do so, a little bit about myself. So I was born in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, a vast landlocked country with rich culture, known for its dry and very, very cold weather. But I actually spent most of my childhood in Singapore, a small, humid country with a rich fusion of cultures. But the most striking difference between the two wasn't the landscape nor the weather. It was actually the level of development. Growing up, these two countries felt like two completely different worlds. So my father moved us to Singapore in pursuit of a higher education. And my parents always emphasized to me and my sister of how privileged we were. And a really fond memory of my childhood is when my father would hand me some of his pocket change and instruct me to hand it out to people on the streets. Now, as a child, I didn't quite understand why. Why me? But I did, because I was told to. But looking back, my father may have just planted the seed of what could be the first key for me to enter the secret society: action. Growing up in a missionary family, we were raised on the teachings of service. But as a child, I thought these actions of service was more like praying, singing in choir, or even just handing out change. But that very idea evolved throughout time. And one Christmas, when we moved back to Mongolia, our family decided to give gift bags to children living in the Gir districts. Now, the Gir districts are secluded places from the city center where predominantly low-income families reside in traditional yurts, or what's known as girs. So as a child, I was so thrilled, picking out my favorite sweets and packing them into little bags, and just wanted to see the reactions of these children. And as we handed them out, a concerned couple approached us and asked what we were doing. So my parents explained, and they invited us to their gir. And their two children just ran under the bed into a corner and started giggling. So curiously, I peeked to see, and I saw something truly shocking. A base of the bed just filled with gift bags. Sweets, snacks, drinks, just overflowing. And that's when I realized maybe we weren't the only people with this idea. And a little concerned, my parents then looked at the family and asked, "Well, what do you really need?" And hesitantly, they replied, "We just need the money to get through this winter." I don't know why, but that very comment stuck with me until this day. Maybe because it gave me the understanding not every action we assume to be service really addresses the real needs of others. Which led me to find my second key: intent. If we lead our actions with clear and meaningful intentions, maybe we can make real impact. So that very idea of intent followed me in the 6th grade, where I ran for class president. And at the time, I had just enrolled into a new school. I was still the very shy and frail little student. But I don't know what came up to me. I just felt compelled to act. And maybe that was the first time where I intentionally did something for my own purpose. So that very role gave me a lot of new skills. Listening to my classmates, learning from advisors and teachers, and organizing school projects. And I poured those skills into venturing into other clubs and associations. And maybe here you could truly say that I entered the secret society of volunteerism. Now, as a teenager, volunteerism felt so exciting because these were not only super interesting projects that were meaningful, they were also really, really fun. And just to show you a few glimpses of what they look like, my first project was for a NGO called Youth for Better. Here we just used these tents and just the mere talents of each member, and we raised enough funds for a local animal shelter. Later on, very compelling and one of my favorite projects is for a student-led association called United Students Federation. Here we meet these comic book packs to distribute them out to young children because at the time, a lot of children were getting injured in their gears without adult supervision. So that's also when my living room turned into a mini printing factory, crammed with 20 to 30 students from schools all over Ulaanbaatar. And the third and very impactful project was for a intercultural program called AFS, where we did a workshop called Effect Plus, informing young scholars about globalization and the Sustainable Development Goals. But do you know what's hidden behind all these amazing projects? Pizza parties, hiking trips, nights filled with laughter. It was just an incredible community. And that's where I also found myself becoming a very loud advocate for youth volunteerism, because I also understood how much young people can do and how big of an impact can they do with such little time, effort, and just a shared purpose. But then that all came to a halt. In the fall of 2020, I had fallen into a little accident. As a reckless teen, I had severely injured the entirety of my upper left thigh. And at the same time, COVID had just hit in Mongolia for the first time, so yay! I felt helpless. Because not was I only confined to my home, worse, confined to my bed. Not being able to walk. I had so much responsibilities, so much things that I have taken up on. I felt useless. I felt like my purpose was stripped away from me, and at the time of the pandemic, a lot was taken up from us. Our jobs, our purposes, our community. And I felt a deep sense of anger. Just if it wasn't for this little injury, I could have ventured into more projects and done more. But in that forced stillness, I realized something profound. My third key, and maybe most important, self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you just can't help others without helping yourself. And I had realized, wait a minute, what are my hobbies? Have I even spent time with my family? I had already completely neglected school. I was so busy trying to solve the world's problems that I forgot to tend to my own. So I took a step back, and I took time to reflect on myself and understand what I needed as an individual. So I did. And in the span of about a year, healing both physically and mentally, I found myself missing it again. Because volunteerism always felt like that missing piece of who I was. So this time, I would take it slow. I would commit to one opportunity at a time, and one day, I had saw a youth volunteer ad on Facebook. So I applied, not expecting much, and to my surprise, I had the ultimate honor to be a youth representative for the United Nations Youth Advisory Panel. I was thrilled because not only have I been working with youth, I get to represent them. But then that slowly drifted back to a deep sense of imposter syndrome. You see, every Tuesday at 7 p.m., we would show up to this formal conference room, and I just sat there, silent, afraid. The other members, top of their game. University students, top of their class, working in sectors I haven't even heard before. I felt so out of place, and volunteerism felt like something out of my reach. I wanted to quit, but I didn't. There was still something holding me back. And I just did the thing I do best. Just show up, listen, and learn. And slowly, I realized these aren't just fellow volunteers. They became my mentors, my friends, my peers, and just real people trying to make a small impact. They reminded me of why I started in the first place and why I love service. And that brings me to my fourth and last key: connections. I can say, by far, volunteerism has led me to find the most profound connections of my youth. Why do you think I call it a secret society? Secret because it's hidden? No. Secret because it's quiet and it's sacred. You can only understand by being a part of it. At least for me, when I started with just action and led with intent, found myself through it, and also found others to connect with, I found the most profound communities, people, and most importantly, I found myself. So I'll tell you this: if you ever find yourself finding one of these secret communities, or even joining one of your own, I really hope my story can help your journey make it ever the more worthwhile. And one more thing. Thank you to all the volunteers. Thank you.